Welcome to Unicorn Recap. Today I am going to explain an action, fantasy, and horror film called Dracula Untold. Watch out. Spoilers ahead. In 1442, 1,000 boys from Transylvania were forced to be trained for the Turkish army. One youngster grew up to be dreaded as Vlad the Impaler, pained by his horrible crimes. Vlad went back to Transylvania to rule in harmony. On a stream near Transylvania, a Roman named Skelgium finds an abandoned Turkish helmet. Vlad, the Prince of Wallachia and Transylvania, recognizes that it's a scout's helmet, leading him to believe that the Turks want to invade them. Since the helmet was found downstream, Vlad figures that it came from the Broken Tooth Mountain at the other end.
Broken Tooth Mountain.
He orders his men to get ready for battle while he searches the Turks' camp to negotiate. Vlad leads 2 men to the mountain and searches for any indications of the Turks. Bats fly out of a cave, and Vlad deduces that they were disturbed, so they venture in to investigate. Inside, they find old armor and crushed bones littering the floor. Something in the darkness absorbs one of his soldiers and quickly pulls him into the darkness. Vlad and his other soldier flee, but the beast in the shadows captures his soldier. Vlad slashes at the beast, but is flung off. He crawls out of the cave and reaches the sunshine. The monster pauses and retreats, and the blood on Vlad's sword evaporates in the sunlight. Vlad later consults with his brother Lucian about the beast at Castle Dracula. Lucian recounts the history of the vampire, a man who summoned a demon to grant him power. The demon granted him power, but condemned him to live in darkness forever. After that, Vlad meets his wife Miranda and son, Ingras. They greet him warmly, but Miranda notices that something is off with him. In their bedroom, he tells her it was wolves that attacked him.
I suppose.
He then laments his men and tells her how he was sent to war at a young age and wishes he could never fight again. Miranda warns him that he is not safe at home. The next day, their Easter feast is interrupted by the arrival of Ottoman General Hamza Bey. When Vlad offers the Sultan a chest full of silver coins as a tribute, Hamza Bey accuses him of killing their scouts. Vlad denies this and asks to take the tribute and depart, but Hamza Bey cheerfully announces that the Sultan demands 1,000 boys to serve in his army, the town's residents object, but Hamza Bey signs the young men to their army anyway. When one man begs his son to be left, a Turkish soldier threatens to cut off the man's hand with a blade. Vlad pins the soldier to the wall and reminds him that he has no army and must therefore obey. Gathering his men, Vlad leaves with their tribute. Vlad's advisor, Kazan, urges them to do whatever it takes to protect their people. That evening, Vlad confides in Ingras, revealing that his father gave him to the Sultan as a royal hostage to prove his loyalty. Despite his promises of safety, Vlad privately worries to his wife that hundreds will die if he tries to spare the boys. Miranda reminds Vlad of his close bond with the Sultan and suggests he plead for mercy. The next day, Vlad visits the Sultan, Mehmed II. They drink and reminisce about their youth. Mehmed, acknowledging his father's cruelty, praises Vlad for adapting to their culture. He inquires about the boys he demanded, insisting on needing soldiers. Vlad offers himself instead, but Mehmed refuses and demands to raise Ingras as Vlad was, assuring that Vlad will keep his throne under the supervision of Mehmed's general. Vlad begs for reconsideration, but Mehmed advises him to have more sons. Soon, Vlad meets his family in a clearing as his son is delivered to the Turks. Miranda berates Vlad for breaking his promise to protect their children. Kazan warns that defiance will lead to war. Seeing soldiers advance, Vlad approaches but drops his weapon to avoid conflict. Ingras, seeing his father's action, volunteers to go, promising to survive as his father did. Vlad holds his son's hands as he delivers him to Hamza Bey, who expected more resistance.
I expected more resistance from you.
Realizing the sacrifice, Vlad whispers to Ingras to run back to his mother. As Ingras flees, Vlad seizes Hamza Bey's sword and kills him. Miranda shields her son while Vlad battles the Turkish soldiers alone, easily defeating them, but aware of more to come.
I'll find a way.
Kazan criticizes Vlad, but Vlad insists a child should not be sacrificed. He orders his family to be protected in the castle and heads alone to Broken Tooth Mountain. Climbing the dark peak and entering the cave, the vampire greets Vlad, but Vlad doesn't see him. The vampire remarks that no one ever returns to the cave, and Vlad adds that no one has ever escaped, noting the countless human bones around. The vampire extinguishes his torch, causing Vlad to swing his sword blindly. Finally, the vampire confronts him and effortlessly flicks the sword away. The creature, sensing hope rather than fear in Vlad, tells him to hide a silver ring, as it offends him. Vlad explains that the Turks threaten his kingdom, and he seeks the vampire's power to save his family and people. The vampire sarcastically responds, but reveals he knows Vlad's identity. Calling him the son of the devil, Vlad corrects him, stating that his family name, Dracula, means the dragon, not the devil. The vampire taunts Vlad about his terrible past before pinning him to the wall and asking what it was like to impale thousands of people. Vlad admits he felt nothing, justifying that he became a monster to instill fear, which satisfied the Turks and saved lives. The vampire cuts Vlad in the neck and licks the blood, promising to teach him what it's like to be a monster, even if he doesn't currently know how it feels. He tells how the person who turned him sentenced him to live in the cave, but he thinks Vlad would save him. Vlad is told to drink by the vampire, who then bites his own arm and bleeds into his skull, while promising him immense power. But he cautions that Vlad will have an unquenchable hunger for human blood. If Vlad can resist drinking for 3 days, he will become mortal again. If he doesn't succeed, he will completely turn, allowing the vampire to free himself, exact revenge, and use Vlad as a pawn. Despite the grim prospect, desperation forces Vlad to drink the blood. The vampire turns away as Vlad's body convulses. Vlad awakens in a stream, his skin burning from the silver ring. He removes it and tries to stand, but the rock he grabs crumbles. His wounded hand heals instantly. He senses the heat of every living thing in the woods and can hear the smallest sounds, such as those of faraway animals and spiders. Vlad retrieves his ring and puts it on a string to wear as a necklace. Suddenly, he hears explosions in the distance and runs at incredible speed, transforming into a swarm of bats before reverting to his human form. Using this ability, he reaches the castle quickly. Upon arrival, he finds his kingdom under siege. Reuniting with his family, he addresses the frightened townspeople, proclaiming that while a good prince might have sacrificed their sons for peace, he refuses to be defeated. As cannons break through the castle walls, Vlad faces the army alone. The soldiers start charging at him, and he runs towards them, revealing his fangs. He fights through them with supernatural strength, tossing them aside like a force of nature. He easily takes their weapons, cutting down his enemies, and eliminates hundreds of opponents on his own. Before long, Vlad and the dead are the only things left on the battlefield. When his troops arrive, there is no longer a combat to be fought. Vlad assures them that they should trust his intentions to keep them safe and not question his actions. He exhorts his people to relocate to the mountainous Koshia monastery, knowing that additional soldiers are on their way. On their way, they camp along the route, and Vlad is tempted to eat when he sees his soldiers eating. He withdraws to his tent, where Marina is waiting for him. As they start kissing and getting close, Vlad is tempted by her blood. He backs off and heads into the woods, where Skeljim is trailing him. Knowing Vlad has been transformed, Skeljim waves a knife and says he is following the bats. Skeljim slashes his own hand, offers blood, and begs to be Vlad's servant rather than attacking. Vlad removes the bloody cup and gives Skeljim a warning to stay away.
Stay away from me.
When Mehmed returns to the battlefield the following day, he finds his troops' head soldiers impaled in spears. As Marina awakens, she discovers Vlad bent down. When she goes to check on him, the silver ring is blazing in his chest, and he is shirtless. When Vlad awakens, Marina is alarmed to learn that his combat scars have disappeared. To save their son, Vlad acknowledges he turned into the monster from the mountain. He lets the sun burn his skin to demonstrate it. Pulling him away, Marina queries why he did it. Vlad argues that he did it to save their son,
Because I sent corpses back to Mem instead of our son.
and assures her that if he fights off the thirst, he will recover in 2 days. While he stops Mehmed, he begs Marina to lead the villagers to the monastery while he holds off Mehmed. Vlad waits for dusk and then transforms into a bat to look for Mehmed's troops. Instead, Mehmed's men ambush the villagers. Dimitri, one of Vlad's soldiers, tries to pull Marina and Ingras to safety during the fighting, but they end up encircled. Dimitri fights the soldiers to keep them safe and sustains fatal injuries. Bats divert the soldiers' attention as they approach. Despite Marina's orders for Ingras to flee, a soldier falls close to the edge as Vlad transforms into a beast. When Dimitri sees Vlad, he crawls away in terror, but Vlad consoles him till he dies. Hearing his son's pleas, Vlad avoids the temptation of Dimitri's blood. The villagers eventually make it to the monastery. When Kazan arrives, he chastises Vlad for leaving, but Vlad silences him and orders his followers to give up praying because it will not keep them safe. Rather, he gets them ready for combat. Mehmed, meantime, hears reports that Vlad has turned into a monster, but he doesn't let it deter him from defeating Vlad and promptly marches his army to the monastery. At the monastery, Lupin notices Vlad hiding from the sun. Lucian follows him to the forge and draws a silver blade, realizing what Vlad has become. Vlad declines Lucian's offer to kill him so he will confess his sins. Lucian cuts a slit through the tent, letting sunlight scorch Vlad's skin. While Marina pleads with them to save him, the crowd screams in terror and demands his execution. After the troops light the tent on fire, Ingras and Marina are dragged from the area. The crowd is silenced by an inward roar. When Vlad appears out of the flames, Marina sends Ingras inside. Vlad chastises them for their betrayal, reminding them that it was thanks to his sacrifice that they are still alive. After Marina soothes him, Vlad gives the command for his people to get ready for a fight, and then storms off. Vlad visits the church to ask for strength to keep from turning into a monster. To cheer him up, Ingress enters and offers him bread. Vlad gives his kid a piece of bread and says that due to his compassion, he will make a wonderful leader. Ingress thinks that the reason he turned was because Vlad prevented the Turks from seizing him, as he recalls. Vlad acknowledges this and tells him that if it came to that, he would do it again during the night. He watches the army arriving. Vlad fears that if the fight doesn't end by morning, he would lose his control, assuring him that they have done everything within their power to safeguard the children of the kingdom. Mirina swears to fight beside him until the very end. She brings up their wedding vows, which are a poem about love that knows no bounds to space or time. As the adversary draws closer, the couple seeks solace in one another's embrace. The Ottoman army shows up shortly. Vlad learns he can control the bats once he sees them flying into the tower. At his order, thousands of bats congregate, and he sends the bats on the assault when he recognizes Mehmed among the troops. The troops are bitten and knocked down by the bats as they collide with them. After that, Vlad rounds up more bats and batters the soldiers. Vlad enters the combat zone and throws Mehmed off his horse. But as Vlad prepares to strike, he notices that the Sultan's armor is being worn by a fake. A tiny troop of soldiers uses the army on the front lines as a distraction to infiltrate the monastery in the meantime. As soon as 3 soldiers enter Marina's room, she and Ingress flee and climb the tower to confront Mehmed's troops. Vlad discovers Mehmed donning military gear. Marina is punched by a soldier, which makes her fall off the tower. When Vlad hears her scream, he turns into a bat and charges in her direction. Marina holds on while the Turks seize Ingress. Vlad tosses the final soldier off the tower, but Marina tumbles to the ground. Vlad leaps after her and reaches out for her frantically. As Ingress watches his mother collapse, Mehmed leads him to his horse. She passes away in Vlad's arms before he can reach her. Knowing that the rising light will soon sap his powers, Marina instructs him to take her blood in order to become a full vampire and save their son. Knowing she is about to pass away, Marina begs Vlad to suck her blood, even though he declines. When Vlad bares his fangs and swallows Marina's blood, he weeps and becomes a complete vampire, liberating the person who changed him. Vlad finds one soldier still alive when he returns to the monastery, so he makes the soldier drink blood to become a vampire. Vlad finds his dragon armor from his time as the Impaler and spots a few more survivors. Vlad promises to save their son as he buries his wife. A lightning storm is approaching the camp of the Ottoman army. Vlad shows up seeking retribution with a tiny army of vampires. Kazan, a vampire, kidnaps Mehmed's general and consumes his blood. Vlad is found by Mehmed's assassin, but Vlad hangs him to a flagpole so that a vampire woman can feast on him. Vlad approaches Mehmed, who is holding a silver sword over silver money, at the Sultan's tent. As Mehmed and his father engage in combat, a bound Ingress looks on. Vlad becomes weaker due to the silver, and Mehmed taunts him by beating him up. More silver packets are opened by Mehmed, scorching Vlad's skin. Mehmed pins Vlad while they battle and gets ready to stab him with a broken piece of wood. Vlad changes into bats, then comes back to his normal form and stabs Mehmed. Before biting Mehmed's neck, he proclaims that he is now Dracula, the son of the devil. Vlad leads his kid outdoors, where his army of vampires is assembling. With a sense of triumph over their newfound power, Kazan announces that Ingress is the only remaining human. As Kazan says that Ingress is just a diversion, the vampires suddenly encircle them. As Kazan turns to confront Ingress, Vlad stabs him, causing Kazan to collapse. As Vlad protects his son from the others, Lucian appears out of nowhere, wielding a holy cross that the vampires are afraid of. Since he knows the monk will look out for him, he begs Vlad to give him the child. After shoving Ingress into Lucian's arms and sobbingly declaring his love for his son, Vlad tells him to leave. Lucian withdraws while Ingress cries out for his dad. Vlad stares up at the sky, accepting his fate as the clouds open and sunlight spills down upon the vampires. Vlad yells as he dies and they burn. Ingress regrets that his father will not be remembered as the hero he was when he is soon crowned the new Prince of Wallachia. Unaware that Vlad was dead, Skeljim discovered his body in the Ottoman camp and gave his blood, bringing the vampire back to life. After centuries, Vlad enters contemporary London and sees a woman who resembles Marina. He catches her eye while in a trance by repeating the poem from their marriage vows. The woman introduces herself as Mina and says that this poem is her favorite. The vampire who transformed Vlad observes him making up with Mina from a neighboring cafe and follows them. Thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe for more fascinating recaps.